thought I'd share with you some thoughts and ideas about techniques involved in playing the 12-string guitar. And that little riff that I've just done was basically the River by Bruce Springsteen. So the first thing about 12-string guitars is that most people will strum them. Most people will strum using a pick. And I'll say a little bit more about picks in a minute. But the most important thing, I think, to understand about 12-string guitars is that they're not designed for absolutely coarse strumming. So if you think of Arlo Guthrie's Coming into Los Angeles famous song, this is how a ham player with no kind of musical feeling would play it, from the elbow rather than the wrist, and just smashing all 12 strings together, something like this. How many times have we seen performers at folk clubs or wherever bashing their guitars, especially 12-string guitars, like that? I mean, it's just an awful, horrible noise. So the first kind of principle, I guess, is that when you're using a pick and strumming a 12-string, it's very much a combination of individual strings being picked out as well as strumming movements, and the strumming movements generally need probably to be confined to 3 or 4 strings at a time, max, and no more than that, rather than whacking all 12 strings together. So coming into Los Angeles with my kind of approach would be something a bit more like this. So hopefully you can see there that, you know, when I was doing a strum as distinct from an individual picking of an individual string, I was generally striking probably about three strings or 3 double string sets at a time. And that way you bring out the subtleties and the beauty of the 12-string guitar. One thing that's very specific about the 12-string guitar is the relationship of the octave strings to the main strings. So the octave strings always lie above, in other words up towards you, lie above their standard strings. So here we have the top E and the bottom E. Now it follows then that if you play backstrokes, then you will just get a conventional 6-string guitar sound from each string, like this. Okay. Doesn't sound any different to a 6-string guitar. However, when you play the downstrokes on those 4 strings, strings 6, 5, 4 and 3, when you play the downstroke, what you're doing basically is hitting the octave string first, and that's what gives the 12-string its distinctive, wonderful shimmering sound. So my tip is, other than for occasional back sweeps, avoid playing a lot of backstrokes on 12-string strumming. A lot of the strumming involves downstrokes that are picking out individual notes within the context of the strum pattern. So So really what you need to try and achieve is to get that pick dancing over the strings and picking out those octave notes. to give it that distinctive flavour and character. So I said I'd say a little bit more about the pick. I use, for the 12 string as well as for the 6 string guitar, I tend to use a blue chip number 60 pick. Now I do use other thicknesses of blue chip picks, but this is the thickest one, and frankly it's the one that gives the best tone. So many people play the guitar either 6 string or 12 string, and they use the flippiest plectrum they can find, the flippiest pick, and that's just rubbish, to be honest with you. When I first started playing guitar, that's all I wanted was a flippy pick. But the flippy pick doesn't actually give you any tone. It just gives you a kind of flippy sound. It's those hard picks, the ones with no bend in them, that will really bring out the beautiful tone and quality of the music in your instrument. So that's my advice, is to use a solid pick. And blue chip picks, they're expensive, but my goodness me, they have the best surface that I've ever encountered in any pick over something like 50 or 60 years of playing the guitar. So that's kind of strumming techniques on the 12 string guitar. The other aspect of playing the 12 string is finger picking. Now, I have really kind of brittle nails, and I cannot play either a 6 or a 12 string with finger picking without using finger picks. So again, I use a blue chip thumb pick with that special material. Absolutely wonderful. And I then use brass national finger picks on 3 fingers. And they give a nice warm tone. You can use chromium finger picks, but they're not quite the same deal, really. They don't give such a nice warm tone, much brighter tone. So one of the things about the 12 string guitar is that it sounds absolutely fantastic being finger picked. So let me give you some, here's a little kind of thing I made up off the top of my head, but just to illustrate how beautiful it can sound when it's finger picked. Let's go again. It's a little thing I made up. Maybe it'll work out as some kind of song or instrumental in due course. But again, a lot of what I do on the 12 string guitar involves using picks. Don't know where I'll be tomorrow. Riding on some northern railroad. Rattler, take me home to my baby. One-way ticket, almost through. So you can see there that the wonderful thing about finger picking a 12 string guitar is that you can really bring out all of those beautiful high notes and bind them together with their corresponding standard string notes. Or you can pick out using your thumb or your thumb pick. You can isolate the top notes and avoid playing their corresponding standard notes to give that sort of beautiful shimmering high frequency sound. Or you can pick it a little harder and get the standard note too. Now, some of the really top 12-string guitar players are able to discern between finger picking or thumb picking the standard note or the top note. Now, I wouldn't quite claim to have got there yet. That requires a lot of really fine, minutely judged playing to hit the string without hitting its octave partner. But to be honest with you, I think there's a limited need for that kind of distinction in 12-string guitar playing, because by definition it avoids using those beautiful octave notes, and that's what makes a 12-string sound so special. There is a health in you, all it is. They call the rising sun. It's been the ruin of many a poor boy, and now I know I'm wrong. So anyway, that's just a few thoughts about playing a 12-string guitar. I hope it's been of some interest and perhaps even of some use. Main thing is, don't whack those 12 strings all in some horrible cacophony of harsh, coarse sound. Get the best out of your instrument by helping to define those notes and bringing them out in their own or in pairs or even in triplets together, and that way you'll make beautiful music.